Hi, my name is Krystal Avila and I work for Michigan State University Extension in Van Buren County. Before we begin, I would like to note that I've washed my hands and cleaned all surfaces in the kitchen.
For today's recipe, we are going to be making rice pudding, or arroz con leche if you want to say it in Spanish. This recipe calls for 1 cup of rice, 1 can of condensed milk, and a cinnamon stick, and 2 cups of water. For rice, when you're cooking rice, you want about a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning 2 cups of water per 1 cup of rice. For the cinnamon sticks, you can choose a larger cinnamon stick if you like the cinnamon flavoring. You can choose a smaller one if you prefer less cinnamon flavoring. Also depending on portion sizes, so if you're making this for more than 2 people, you want to make sure that you're putting in maybe like a little bit extra cinnamon stick in there just to make sure that it gets all that good flavoring in there. First thing you want to do is boil some water. As you can see, I've added the cinnamon stick in there, and if you can tell, it has changed color, so the water is now a similar color to the cinnamon stick, and you can see that the pieces have been pulled apart from the boiling water. So you don't want to have to crush the cinnamon stick, because those cinnamon stick pieces you don't actually eat, and they will break apart on their own. So just as long as you're doing small chunks, it's fine. When you do see this coloring, and if you can smell the cinnamon, it means that it's time for you to add in the rice. So go ahead, stir in the rice. Now you want to stir it so that the rice doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So just every couple of minutes, make sure that you are stirring the pot to make sure that rice doesn't stick to the bottom. As you're doing this, you can also have the kids, if you have kids, preparing the fruit that you would like to go on the side of the rice. The good thing about this rice pudding is that it can be eaten hot or cold. So once it's done cooking, if you want to just let it cool down a little bit so that you can go ahead and eat it, you can have it fresh, or if you have leftovers and you want to store it in your fridge for later, you can. You can always reheat as well. When you store it, it does have a tendency to kind of dry out a bit, in which case feel free to add in a little bit of milk. Any milk is fine, almond milk, soy milk, regular milk, just to kind of give it more of a liquidy taste. It's kind of like how you would like to eat your oatmeal. So if you like dry oatmeal, you can leave it, the rice pudding, dried out, or if you would like it more watery, you can add more milk to it. Rice pudding can be eaten as a dessert, or it can be had as a breakfast. When you are eating a meal, you want to make sure there's 3 food groups. For this one, we do have the dairy from the milk, from the condensed milk, and if you add regular milk into that. We have a grain group from the rice, and if you would like to serve it with a side of fruit to round it out to make it a breakfast meal, you can. Any fruit is fine. If you have fresh fruit like bananas, or if you would like a dried fruit like a raisin, you can. If you have, just any kind of fruit that you would like on the side, you can go ahead and put it on the side. If you want to throw the raisins into the rice pudding, you can also do that. Cooking the rice takes about 20 minutes or so, depending on the level of heat, just to make sure that the rice is fully cooked all the way through. Alright, Okay, as the rice is boiling, you can see that it starts to fluff up and that there's less and less water, which is why you want to make sure that you're always keeping an eye and you're stirring the rice as it's cooking, just to make sure that it doesn't get stuck to the bottom of the pot. So once it has become soft and absorbed, not all the water, because you definitely don't want it to get stuck to the bottom of the pot, but most of the water, and you can see that where you start seeing more rice kernels at the top and less water, you can go ahead and get the condensed milk and pour that in. Make sure that you are stirring in that condensed milk. It will become much chunkier and thicker to stir. So as you can see the condensed milk, and again, making sure that the rice doesn't stick to the bottom the whole time. So this is a thicker, chunkier kind of rice pudding. If once it cools down, it's too chunky for you, or it just feels like it's not enough liquid in there, you can feel free to add some milk. You can also see that the cinnamon pieces are still in there. Now, you only have to heat it up for a little bit longer, because by the time the water has finished boiling, the rice should have already been basically cooked. You're just trying to make sure that the condensed milk gets warmed up as well. So you can see that. Now here it's pretty liquidy. Once it's cooled down though, this will get a little thicker. So if you want to serve it fresh, it will still be pretty much liquid. Okay, so here we have the rice pudding. I put it in a mug just because for me, when it's hot, it's easier for me to grab if I have that nice little handle. And then you can go ahead and eat it with a spoon. To make it a breakfast meal, you want to serve it with some fruit on the side. It's fine, or if you wanted to toss in some raisins or something into the rice pudding, you can do that too. Your children, if you have little ones at home, can always be the ones preparing the fruit. You know, if they're able to cut it up, go ahead and let them cut it up. If they can't and you have metal cookie cutters, you can always have them cut out shapes with the cookie cutters if you go ahead and you slice it up for them beforehand. As you can see in the rice pudding, there are the cinnamon stick bark pieces. Just make sure you don't eat those, but the rice and milk is all good to go. As it cools down, it might dry out a bit, in which case just add a little milk to kind of put more liquid in there if you would like.